Hello, welcome to Granada Reports. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, we are live with the latest across the northwest on the programme this evening.
Stabbed as he walked home, the parents of 16-year-old Kenny Carter call on those responsible for their son's death to come forward.
It's about doing the right thing, because if people don't start doing the right thing now, this is never going to stop, and it needs to stop. For everybody's children's sake, it needs to stop.
A cost of living crisis, the pensioners being pushed into poverty, in some cases for the first time in their lives.
I had a cook. I only have a refrigerator. I cannot switch that off. I just try to manage, just to keep your head above water.
The Shakespeare Playhouse North plans to open in Prescott in July with a programme of summer entertainment.
We're in Macclesfield, where a brand new piece of street art depicting Joy Division's Ian Curtis has been created. Stay tuned for the big reveal.
And who'd have thought it? Temperatures of 18 Celsius in Aintree today. That was too hot for Teddy the dog. He headed for the shade. Is there more sunshine on the way? I'll have the forecast later on.
First, he was 16 years old and should have had his whole life ahead of him. But Kenny Carter was stabbed to death in the street in Stratford in January. Now, his mother's calling on other parents to do more to stop children carrying knives.
Police believe Kenny was simply walking home, caught in a fight that he had nothing to do with. They also believe a cyclist could be an important witness. Elaine Wilcox has this report.
I've lost my 16-year-old, the youngest of 4. I've got 2 daughters and another son that's absolutely distraught. We've got 6 grandchildren that miss their uncles so much.
Police believe Kenny Carter was stabbed to death as part of a revenge attack. Some of his friends had been involved in a fight with a rival group in Stratford the night before the teenager was killed. Kenny wasn't involved and was attacked as he walked home alone. His family ran to help him.
And Kenny was on the floor, and 2 people were doing CPR on him, and they took him to the hospital. The doctor came out and said that he was sorry he couldn't save Kenny. And that was it. I didn't get to see him.
Police have released this blurry footage of a cyclist who may have seen the rival group minutes before Kenny was stabbed. They were wearing hoods and COVID masks. A teacher who works as a special police officer was one of the first responders.
I remember looking at Kenny and seeing his eyes and knowing this was bad. This was really sort of the end of his life.
So far, police have arrested 14 youths on suspicion of murder. They're aged between 12 and 17. Kenny's dad has appealed to the killer to do the right thing.
There's got to be one person. It's not a point of grassing somebody up. It's the point of telling the truth. Well, everybody knows who's done it, but we just can't tell who's done it.
It's down to parents, because that's where it begins, at the parents. I'm a mum. I know when my sons are acting different. Somebody must know somewhere, or has heard something. You need to help us.
Kenny's family have appealed to people to speak out now or warn these senseless killings will never stop. Elaine Wilcox, ITV News, Stratford.
Well, next this evening, the rising number of pensioners being pushed into poverty. A new report reveals 1 in 5 older people are living below the breadline in the UK, a figure that's increased sharply over the past year.
Pensioners didn't get much of a mention in the Chancellor's spring statement. Energy bills are expected to jump by an average of almost £700 a year from next month. So it's likely we'll see many more older people struggle because they have limited ways to increase their income.
Anna Yosef looks at the pressing issue of pensioner poverty.
Teslin's grateful for the food on her plate and the roof over her head, but these days it's getting harder to keep body and soul together. The 83-year-old has found herself in debt for the first time in her life, and she's scared.
This is the last statement I received from the electricity, and it said £730, 3 pence. I'm in arrears with, and I'm really worried about it because I've never been in debt.
Is it on your mind all the time?
All the time, yes. I'm wondering how can I get it down. Make you feel worried and sad.
Teslin lives alone in a retirement flat. The former nurse and great-grandmother admits she's cutting back on food and avoids putting on the heating.
When I went there first, they were quite reasonable, and I thought, it was all right. And then I get a bombshell that I was in over £500 in arrears. But I hardly use anything. So how comes? Because it's I alone, I hardly cook. I only have a refrigerator. I cannot switch that off.
How much of a struggle is life at the moment?
Well, I just try to manage, just to keep your head above water. You just try to manage. Yeah, sometimes I don't go, I just let things stretch and improvise on things, yeah. Yeah, it's not easy, not easy at all.
More than 2 million pensioners are living in poverty in the UK. Single female pensioners are more likely to be at risk of poverty than single males or couples, and pensioners from the Black and Asian communities are twice as likely to be living below the breadline than those who are white. But the charity Age UK says £2.2 billion of pension credit and benefits still goes unclaimed by pensioners every year. They say that's because many older people mistakenly believe they won't qualify or are put off by the claims process. These pensioners enjoying a game of dominoes at a community centre in Hume think there can also be cultural factors.
I think that one of the reasons that the black community might be experiencing problems is because within the black community they're very private. It's a private race of people.
Yeah.
So they're not going to go and get the right benefit. It's a shame, but it's true. But places like this place where we are now, they can come here and they can get from all the staff that are here all the information that they need.
So everything is gone up, everything rise up. Everywhere you go, if you go in the supermarket, you're buying the petrol. I don't even know where to take this, where this is going, really, because we cannot do nothing about it. And as far as I'm concerned, I ain't seen government doing anything about it neither.
You walk through the shop and see the cheapest price, and you just have to do. And that we save you a bit. That loaf of bread for £1, you can get one for 80 pence. You buy the 80 pence one.
So you're shopping around,
you have to shop around and look for bargains to survive.
Have you had a nice day? Fantastic. It's been nice to see.
Dorothy Evans and her team are offering as much support as they can.
What we don't want to happen is for people to find themselves in a crisis situation before they reach out for help. And in many cases, a lot of the people that we are helping, they're on their knees, and they have tried to keep things to themselves and they've been struggling, but then they've come to us for the support and the guidance that they need. It is really, really hard when you have got to make a choice between, do I turn the lights on? Do I feed myself?
With energy prices set to soar by up to 50%, the government's being urged to protect consumers. These pensioners hope they're not going to be left out in the cold. Anna Yosef, ITV News.
Yeah, sobering stuff. Anna joins us in the studio now. And Anna, you asked the government for a response to the issues raised in your report. What did they say?
They said they recognise the pressures people are facing with the cost of living, and that's why they're providing support worth £22 billion this financial year and next. That includes helping 11 million pensioners with their energy bills through the winter fuel payments. They also said that there are 200,000 fewer pensioners in absolute poverty than there were 10 years ago, and they're working hard to raise awareness of pension credit so more people can claim it.
And was there any good news at all for pensioners in the Chancellor's mini-budget, Anna?
Nothing immediate. There was no new help purely for pensioners, not even the poorest. No improvement on the 3.1% increase on the state pension, which is going to kick in next month, which is just half the current rate of inflation. You know, you saw Teslin in that report. Lovely 83-year-old lady, former nurse. She's never been in debt in her life, and now all she can think about is how she's going to pay that energy bill. The rise in the cost of living is causing a huge amount of anxiety amongst older people, and the real worry is with inflation driving up basic living costs. Many older people who only have their state pension to rely on just won't be able to make ends meet.
As you say, a real worry, Anna. Thank you very much for that. Well, next, we're moving on to the latest on the shock decision by P&O Ferries to sack 800 workers without notice. The chief executive has now admitted to breaking employment law.
Yeah, the company's boss appeared before MPs today to answer questions over his actions, which saw many Liverpool-based staff lose their jobs.
He also confirmed agency crews operating services between Liverpool and Dublin will only earn, on average, £5.50 an hour, well below the minimum wage.
Our political correspondent, Leisha McNally, joins us live from Westminster now. And Leisha, could MPs believe what they were hearing?
Well, select committee hearings aren't normally scenes of high drama, but there were some really extraordinary moments today. MPs rolled their eyes, gasped and even laughed at some of what the chief executive of P&O Ferries had to say. Over the course of the session, we learnt that Merseyside seafarers, paid an average of £36,000, were sacked by a boss who takes home nearly 10 times that. A boss who wouldn't rule out accepting a bonus this year. And they were replaced by cheap international aid crew who could be paid less than the national minimum wage, some as little as £5.15 an hour, as UK employment law doesn't apply to the international routes P&O Ferries run. But while the company came here today armed with an apology, their position hasn't really changed. They maintained that while cutting their wage bill in this way was very difficult, it was something they simply had to do.
Business would close. The business was not viable. This is the only way for us to save this business, and we have moved to a model that is internationally recognised and widely used across the globe and by our competitors. I would make this decision again, I'm afraid.
And it's that willingness to do it again which is making MPs very nervous, wondering if other companies will follow P&O's pattern. The MP for Liverpool Wavertree, Paula Barker, told me this is a watershed moment in employment law.
We really have got to stop these organisations. They go on and they talk about their business models, but what they're talking about is their profit margins for their shareholders, and that's what it comes down to. But you know, at the end of the day, these employees are not numbers. Each one of them has their own unique story to tell. They have their own unique set of circumstances. We're in the worst cost of living crisis we've seen since the 1950s. These poor people now have no job. They deserve so much better than this.
Well, the government say P&O have exploited a loophole and it simply isn't right. This afternoon it launched a review of maritime employment law to try to make sure that ships operating out of British ports like Liverpool do so under British standards. Ultimately, though, it does remain very unlikely that the Merseyside employees that P&O deemed too expensive to pay will ever get their jobs back.
Leisha, thank you.
Well, next tonight, William Shakespeare once wrote that all the world's a stage, but one place that definitely soon will be is Prescott.
Yeah, and of all the places in the world for the Shakespeare North Playhouse, costing £30 million, they've chosen the Merseyside town of Prescott.
In July, an opening ceremony will feature a number of people who are used to treading the boards, albeit in hard hats and high-vis vests.
Yep, the people who helped build the new landmark will be involved in a show to celebrate the town's heroes. Anne O'Connor reports.
You could call it poetry in motion over months of construction. Shakespeare North Playhouse will host much music, the food of love. But first, there's a fair bit of drilling to do.
Incredibly exciting, and every time I come here it changes more and more, and I just cannot wait to see the whole building full of people and enjoying themselves.
It opens on July the 15th with a procession and party.
Doors will be flung open and the whole building will come to life with different events and artists and the public and communities having a good time.
Shakespeare is believed to have been associated with Knowsley's Lord Derby, a patron of Elizabethan theatre. The new space is a recreation of Henry VIII's cockpit and court from 1629.
Jeff Maltby, a.k.a. The Oracle.
Bringing it bang up to date will be St Helens' Johnny Vegas in conversation with Liverpool playwright Jimmy McGovern, as well as performances of Midsummer Night's Dream.
Everyone here at Shakespeare North Playhouse wants everyone to come. So a proportion of tickets for every performance here in the Cockpit Theatre will be pay what you decide. You can get a ticket for however much you can afford.
Outside, there's a performance garden, a tribute to another man who had a talent for writing comedy. It's funded by the Ken Dodd Foundation and mixes quotes from the great comedian and one of his comedy idols. And as well as jokes, there'll be jobs in an area where they are much needed.
I was bowled over by how much everybody knows about the project, how invested they are. You know, even when people are going to the butchers or they go into the shops to do their messages, you know, they really are completely bought into the project and they can't wait for it to open, just like we can't. It is their theatre. This is a theatre for the people.
You could say they'll be buzzing about the Bard. Anne O'Connor, ITV News, Prescott.
Getting that winning feeling. FOW, sponsors of the Granada Sport Report.
Well, let's start with football and hear from the man with the task of keeping Barrow in the Football League.
Yeah, the former Bolton Wanderers player and Hull City manager Phil Brown now finds himself in the hot seat.
Yeah, he takes up the reins with Barrow just 6 points clear of the League Two relegation zone.
He's been speaking to Mike Hall.
Back on the training ground with no time to waste. Phil Brown is still getting to know Barrow's players. He has just 9 games to get them winning and preserve the club's Football League status.
Well, Phil, this looks like a pretty high-pressure situation to walk into. What was it that appealed to you about this job?
I think it's the challenge more than anything else. You know, I do, throughout my career, I've liked the challenge, and invariably when a manager loses his position, it's for a reason. And the challenge is always to galvanise a group of players, and that's quite simply what the job is.
Brown certainly knows how to do that. He's the man who famously guided Hull City into the Premier League. He replaces Mark Cooper, who left his position after Barrow's defeat to Carlisle at the weekend.
Getting back into the game is key. A lot of managers are out there, and good managers, and they can't get back in. Whether they be young or old, it doesn't matter. If I win sufficient games, 1 will be a team in the EFL 2 next year, and 2, maybe there's a contract there to earn.
With just 3 wins since Christmas, Barrow find themselves 6 points clear of the relegation zone. There's no shortage of incentives to stay up.
It's not just important for the club, it's important for the people up there. It's important for us as individuals. You don't want relegations on your CV when you look back on your career.
That's the challenge with 9 games to go. We're not in that bottom 2, and that is my job, to stay out of the bottom 2. However we do it, doesn't matter, so long as come the end of this season, we are EFL 2 next year.
A win at Leyton Orient this weekend in his first game in charge would go some way to achieving that. Mike Hall, ITV News.
Yeah, best of luck to Phil Brown and the team. Ice hockey fans will be in pink this weekend, all for a good cause. The Manchester Storm team will wear specially commissioned pink kits for Saturday's home fixture against Fife Flyers as they support the Prevent Breast Cancer charity. And they're calling on all Storm fans to join them.
Well, I guess if these guys are coming out here and battling and they're going to wear pink and don themselves in pink, I think any man can find a little pink in their wardrobe and bring it along You know, hopefully it's a little warm, but it's a lot of fun. And like I said, you get in this crowd, you see all the pink, and you see the people get behind it. It's what it's all about here. Just enjoy a little bit of fun, raise a little money for a much-needed cause.
1 in 9 ladies get breast cancer, 1 in 1,000 men. So, you know, at Prevent Breast Cancer, we're just really up for predicting and preventing, and that's what it's all about.
It is. Good work, Manchester Storm. And now let's take a look at what's coming up on the ITV News at 6:30 with Mary.
P&O Ferries admit they broke the law over a decision to sack 800 workers without notice. The company's chief executive today refused to say whether he'd take 2 bonuses on top of a £300,000 salary. A month on from the start of the war in Ukraine, world leaders gather for a crucial NATO summit. Here, a court shown footage of the moment Sir David Amos's alleged killer was tackled to the ground.
I want to express my profound sorrow. Slavery was abhorrent.
Sorrowful, but not sorry. An apology of sorts from Prince William in Jamaica. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now, to the young man from Macclesfield, still inspiring millions across the world more than 40 years after his death.
Yeah, he was the Joy Division frontman with a distinctive sound all of his own, Ian Curtis. The band were together less than 4 years and had just 2 albums, but they're widely regarded as some of the most influential musicians of their generation.
And now a brand new mural has been commissioned in the singer's honour in his hometown of Macclesfield. We sent Mel Barham for a look.
Yeah, here we are in Ian Curtis's hometown of Macclesfield, just across the road from the bus station where this incredible new piece of street art is being created. But before we reveal it, let's just remind ourselves about Ian Curtis himself and the music of Joy Division.
Confusion in her eyes that says it all. She's lost control, and she's clinging to the nearest passerby. She's lost control. She gave away the secrets of her past and said she's lost control again. And of a voice that told her when and when to act, she said, I've lost control again.
Well, they were one of the most influential bands of all time. Let's reveal that mural for you now. Here it is. Take a look at that. It's incredible, isn't it? The street artist Axe began this on Tuesday. As you can see, he's just putting those finishing touches to it now. And incredibly, it's 42 years since Ian Curtis took his life at the age of 23. Now there is this fitting tribute to him here in his hometown of Macclesfield. Well, let's bring in Nick Mannion, who's from Cheshire East Council, who commissioned and funded this piece of street art. First of all, Nick, thank you for joining us. Just tell us why you wanted this mural here in Macclesfield.
Well, it's personal for me. Ian Curtis was a Macclesfield lad, and I was a teenager when he was in Joy Division. And they broke the mould, really. They were a unique sound, and they've influenced whole generations of musicians. And again, it's an opportunity to celebrate his contribution to popular music.
Thank you so much for joining us, Nick. It does look superb. Well, a little earlier I spoke to Ian's former bandmate Peter Hook and asked him what he thought of this piece of street art.
It's absolutely beautiful, and the thing is that I'm watching all the people going down the street, and every single one of them is drawn to it. So regardless of whether they know of Ian, they certainly will know of him now. You know, Joy Division and Ian's legacy and his memory have really grown over the years. You know, it shows no signs of diminishing. I'm amazed, absolutely amazed with the way it picks up and it gets bigger with every generation. And we were saying that there's some young kids walking down who had no idea who he was, but now they do. So hopefully they'll listen to the music and get the gist of what we were trying to do as kids.
This was important, wasn't it? That, you know, this was Ian's hometown.
Yes, it was, and I tried to get a statue for a few years with the help of a few people in Mac, and we didn't manage it. So maybe this is the step to getting that statue by the town hall that I've been asking for years.
To the centre of the city where a roads meet, waiting for you. To the depths of the ocean where all hope sank, searching for you. Moving through the silence without motion, waiting for you. In a room with no window in the corner, I found through.
Yeah, well, these years later, such fond memories of Ian Curtis. What a great image that is of him in Macclesfield.
Superb tribute. Awesome.
Yeah, look out for it the next time you're there. Let's get on to the weather now. Here's John.
Oh, I love a hot shower and a cold day, me.
And a minute shorter than usual.
What a legend.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello again. Well, that sun came up again this morning over Preston. There it is over the River Ribble. Isn't that a wonderful picture? And a lovely day for most of us today. It was certainly a nice day here at Cliviger, just down the road from Burnley. And up near Littleborough in the Pennines at Hollingworth Lake. What a glorious afternoon it was up there. Now, there has been a little bit of cloud earlier on today over the Isle of Man, South Lakeland there, even a spit or spot of light rain coming out of that, but otherwise not a bad day. And it's going to be fine through this evening and overnight tonight as well. And with extended cloud breaks, temperatures are going to fall away once more. So low temperatures down Cheshire way could get down to 3 Celsius, low enough for a touch of ground frost. And there's a lovely sunset over Morecambe Bay recently. Tomorrow the sun's up at 6:02 and it's setting again at 6:33. So tomorrow's going to be another fine day. Any early frost and mistiness will soon lift. Lots of sunshine to come. It will stay dry tomorrow. Just a little bit of patchy cloud developing in the Pennines tomorrow afternoon. Expected highs again above average for the time of the year, 17 or 18 Celsius in light winds, and it will stay fine through tomorrow evening as well. And then into the weekend, Saturday, we've got that high pressure in charge, so lots of sunshine to come during the course of the day on Saturday. Light winds, and again, top temperatures very pleasant indeed at 17 Celsius. It's going to stay fine on Sunday too, so a nice weekend in prospect. Next week it turns more cloudy and it turns colder. That wind swings from the south into the north. That's it. Enjoy your evening.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Oh, hello.
Get him a towel.
It's like summer, isn't it?
It is lovely to see all that sunshine.
It is, and the clocks go forward, I think it is, don't they, on Sunday morning, which means that we turn the whole studio around and we can see outside in the sunshine again.
Well, hey, is George and the dog going to be enjoying the sunshine?
He will. He'll be having a great time out there while I'm at work. Lucky thing. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.